The smell of solder and hot electronics filled my garage workshop as I made the final adjustments to my latest prototype. 20 years of work was about to pay off, though my family didn't know it yet. They never bothered to understand what I was really building out here. Still playing with your toys, Marcus? I didn't look up from my work. My brother Peter's voice carried that familiar tone of amused condescension. He stood in the doorway of my garage, probably fresh from another board meeting at Hamilton Tech, our family's company. "What do you want, Peter?" "Mom and Dad's anniversary dinner. The one you're already an hour late for." He stepped inside, wrinkling his nose at the clutter of circuit boards and testing equipment. "Though I can see you're busy with your hobby." I carefully set down my soldering iron. The prototype could wait a few hours. "I'll change and be right there." "Don't bother with a suit," Peter smirked. "We all know you can't afford one on a school teacher's salary." Actually, my teaching position at the local community college was just a cover, a way to access their advanced electronics lab for my research. But Peter didn't need to know that. Let him think I was just the family failure, the dreamer who'd walked away from a cushy corporate job to pursue crazy inventions. The Hamilton mansion was lit up like a Christmas tree when I arrived. Luxury cars filled the circular driveway. The board members and executives who'd helped build Hamilton Tech into one of the country's largest electronics manufacturers. All here to celebrate my parents' 40th wedding anniversary. "Marcus," my mother's voice carried across the marble foyer. "You couldn't even dress properly for this." I looked down at my clean but simple clothes. "Sorry, Mom, lost track of time." "In that garage again," she sighed. "Honestly, when are you going to grow up and rejoin the real world?" The real world. Like the corporate bubble they lived in, where success was measured only in stock prices and market share. "Marcus," my father's greeting was cool as I entered the main hall. "Your sister was just telling us about Hamilton Tech's latest acquisition." "Quite impressive." "Ah yes, my perfect sister Diana. Harvard MBA, Chief Strategy Officer at Hamilton Tech, and Peter's partner in pushing me out of the company 10 years ago. Expanding into quantum computing," Diana announced proudly. "The future of the industry." Though I'm sure Marcus is still busy with his little gadgets. The other executives chuckled. They'd all heard about the crazy Hamilton son who'd thrown away his inheritance to tinker in his garage. If they only knew what I'd actually been developing all these years. "How is the teaching going?" my father asked, though his attention was already drifting to more important guests. "Fine, my students." "Dad." Deanna cut me off. "The chairman of the board wants to discuss the merger." And just like that, I was forgotten again. Story of my life in this family. I found a quiet corner and watched them all congratulate themselves on their business genius. Hamilton Tech had grown enormously under my father's leadership, but lately things had stagnated. Their technology was falling behind competitors. The quantum computing acquisition was a desperate attempt to stay relevant. My phone buzzed. A text from my research partner, Dr. Sarah Chen. "Final tests complete. Patent filing ready. Should I submit?" I smiled, thinking of the prototype sitting in my garage, 20 years of work, leading to a breakthrough that would revolutionize quantum computing. The very field Hamilton Tech was struggling to enter. "Not yet." I texted back. "Wait until tomorrow." Family event tonight. Speaking of the quantum division, Peter's voice carried across the room. "Our engineers are making excellent progress." I had to suppress a laugh. Their excellent progress was years behind what I'd already achieved. But they'd never bothered to look at my research, never taken my ideas seriously. "Marcus," a soft voice interrupted my thoughts. Angela, my old friend from the Hamilton Tech engineering department, one of the few who'd supported my decision to leave. "Is it really ready?" She was the only person outside my research team who knew what I'd been developing. "Final testing completed today," I said quietly. "Patent filing tomorrow." Her eyes widened. "They have no idea, do they? What's about to hit them?" 20 years of thinking I was wasting my time in that garage. 20 years of mockery and dismissal. I sipped my champagne. "Let them enjoy tonight. Tomorrow everything changes." "Marcus," Peter's voice again. "Stop hiding and join the family photo. Try to look successful for once." I stood with them, smiling for the camera. The disappointing son, the crazy inventor, the family embarrassment. Let them think that for one more night. Tomorrow, when my quantum processing patent was published, They'd learn exactly what I'd been building in that garage, and why their desperate corporate acquisition was already obsolete. Speech, someone called out. My father stood, raising his glass. To family, he declared. To success. To Hamilton Tech's continued dominance in the industry. And to my children, Peter and Diana, who represent the future of our company. I noticed he didn't mention me. As usual, my phone buzzed again. Sarah, Wall Street Journal wants to interview you tomorrow. They've heard rumors about the breakthrough. Perfect timing. Later that night, as the party wound down, Diana cornered me by the coat check. You should sell the garage, she said. Use the money to buy some decent clothes, maybe start a real career. I thought of the prototype hidden there, of the patents that would be filed in just a few hours. Actually, I smiled. I think I'll keep it. Never know when you might need a good workspace. For what? More failed inventions? She shook her head. Face it, Marcus, you're never going to be anything more than the family disappointment. I collected my coat, thinking of tomorrow's headlines, of the chaos that would erupt when Hamilton Tech realized their billion-dollar quantum computing acquisition was worthless compared to my technology. We'll see about that, sister. We'll see. The next morning, I sat in my garage watching the sun rise. In 1 hour, the patent office would open. In 2 hours, the Wall Street Journal article would drop. In 3 hours, Hamilton Tech's stock would start trading. My phone buzzed. A message from Angela. Board meeting scheduled for 9 a.m. They have no idea what's coming. I looked at my prototype, the culmination of 20 years' work. The device that would either save Hamilton Tech or destroy it, depending on how my family chose to handle today's revelations. Time to show them what the family disappointment can really do, I texted back. The garage didn't look like much, just a cluttered workspace full of electronics and testing equipment. But by sunset, everyone would know this was where a revolution in quantum computing had been quietly developed. While they were busy mocking my toys and failed inventions, I created something that would change the industry forever. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right in a way they can't possibly ignore. My phone buzzed one final time. Sarah again. Patent office opens in 5 minutes. Ready to press send. I thought of all the family dinners I'd endured. All the mockery about wasting my time. All the suggestions to get a real job and grow up. Send it, I replied. It's time. By 8:45 a.m., my simple garage had become the center of a media storm. Reporters clustered outside, held back by private security I'd hired weeks ago. Inside, I sat calmly at my workbench, watching Hamilton Tech's stock price on my laptop while Sarah handled the press calls. Wall Street Journal article just dropped, she announced. Your family's PR team is already in damage control mode. I smiled, scanning the headline. Revolutionary quantum computing breakthrough, inside the garage that could change everything. The article was devastating in its simplicity. While Hamilton Tech had spent billions acquiring outdated quantum computing technology, their crazy inventor son had quietly developed something far more advanced. My patent application, now public, proved that their entire acquisition strategy was obsolete before it began. Your brother's calling. Again. Sarah held up my phone, showing Peter's name flashing for the 10th time. Let it ring. He can wait until the board meeting. Right on cue, Angela texted, emergency board meeting starting. Your father looks like he's about to explode. Peter and Diana are trying to spin this as a hoax. I checked the stock price again. Hamilton Tech shares were already dropping as investors digested the news. The quantum computing division they'd spent billions acquiring was worthless compared to my technology. Time to go, I told Sarah, standing up. Ready to crash a board meeting. The Hamilton Tech headquarters hadn't changed much in 10 years. Same sleek glass tower, same expensive art in the lobby, same security guards who used to know me as the boss's son. Mr. Hamilton, the head of security, nodded, looking uncomfortable. The boardroom is. I know where it is, Frank, and I believe they're expecting me. We could hear the shouting before we reached the top floor. Peter's voice carried through the closed boardroom doors. This has to be a trick. Marcus couldn't possibly. I pushed open the doors, Sarah right behind me. The room fell silent. Hello, family, I said quietly. I believe you have some questions about my patent application. You. Diana shot to her feet. How dare you announce this without warning? Do you have any idea what you've done to our stock price? Your stock price? I raised an eyebrow. I wasn't aware I owed Hamilton Tech any consideration. After all, I'm just the family disappointment, right? The crazy inventor playing with toys in his garage. Marcus. My father's voice was tight with controlled fury. This is not the time for your games. Whatever you think you've invented is exactly what the patent application and testing data prove it is. Sarah cut in, dropping a thick folder on the boardroom table. Full documentation, verified by 3 independent labs. Your son has created what your billion-dollar acquisition couldn't, true quantum processing at room temperature. The board members murmured, passing the technical specifications around the table. They might not understand the science, but they understood what it meant for their company. Impossible, Peter insisted. He's a community college teacher, a failed engineer who couldn't cut it in the real world. I had to laugh. Failed? Peter. I left because I saw where the real breakthroughs would come from. Not from corporate bureaucracy and safe investments, but from real innovation, the kind you were too afraid to pursue. If this technology is real, one board member spoke up, why come forward now? Why not earlier? Because now it's perfect, I said simply. Tested, proven, and patented. And perfectly timed to show you exactly what you've been missing while you were busy mocking my little hobby. What do you want? My father finally asked. Money? A position in the company? No, I sat down at the table, enjoying the way they all tense. I want you to understand exactly what your arrogance has cost you. Your quantum computing division? Worthless. Those billions you spent? Wasted. And the only technology that could save you belongs to the son you dismissed as a failure. Diana's face had gone pale as she read through the technical specifications. She'd always been the smartest of us. She understood what this meant. The Chinese and European offers, she whispered. They're real, aren't they? I nodded. 5 major tech companies have already made offers for licensing rights, but I thought it was only fair to let family know first. You can't sell to our competitors, Peter protested. We're your family. Family? I stood up slowly. Was it family when you pushed me out of the company? When you mocked every idea I brought to the board? When you told everyone I was crazy for believing in something you couldn't understand? The room fell silent again. Even my father seemed to have run out of words. The good news, I continued, is that I'm willing to negotiate. Hamilton Tech can have first rights to the technology for a price. Name it, the chairman of the board said quickly, before my family could object. First, Peter and Diana resign. Their positions go to qualified engineers, not corporate politicians. Now wait a minute, Peter started, but Diana grabbed his arm. Done, she said quietly. What else? My own division, with complete autonomy, no interference from the family or the board, and 51% of the quantum computing subsidiary. That's outrageous, my father exploded. You can't demand. I can demand whatever I want. I cut him off. Because right now, your stock is in free fall. In an hour, the market opens in Europe. In 3 hours, Asia. By the end of the day, Hamilton Tech could lose half its value, unless you announce a deal with me. I looked around the table, meeting each board member's eyes. Or I can take one of those other offers. Your choice. The vote took less than 10 minutes. Even my father had to agree, faced with the complete collapse of his company's value. As the lawyers worked out details, I stepped into my father's office, soon to be my office. He stood by the window, looking older than I'd ever seen him. 20 years, he said quietly. 20 years we thought you were wasting your life. No, I corrected him. 20 years you chose not to see what I was really doing. There's a difference. And now you want us all. I thought about the prototype in my garage, about the years of solitary work while they mocked my choices, about the satisfaction of proving them all wrong. I don't want to own you, I said finally. I want to make Hamilton Tech what it should have been all along. A real technology company, not just a family empire. Hours later, back in my garage, I read through the final press releases. Hamilton Tech stock had stabilized on news of the deal. Peter and Diana's resignations were announced as pursuing other opportunities. My new position as head of quantum research was official. Was it worth the wait? Sarah asked, watching me pack up my workbench. This would all be moved to my new labs at Hamilton Tech. I picked up an old circuit board, my first attempt at quantum processing, built right here in this waste of space garage. They spent 20 years telling me I was a failure, I said, that I'd never amount to anything, that my dreams were worthless. And now? I smiled, thinking of their faces in that boardroom. Now they know that sometimes the crazy inventor in the garage is the only one who sees the future clearly. My phone buzzed. A message from Angela. Peter's clearing out his office. Diana's already gone. Your name's being added to the executive parking roster. Tell them to leave everything, I texted back. Starting tomorrow, Hamilton Tech does things differently. I looked around my garage one last time. The place where I proved everyone wrong. Where I built something they couldn't dismiss or ignore. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's success they have to acknowledge, have to depend on, have to respect. They called me the family disappointment. Now they worked for me. The end.